Welcome to episode 2 of the Underdog Chronicles. We have an awesome guest here today. What he did is amazing. He transitioned from sales into owning 7 retail edible arrangements and got bored with retail, so went undercover working for Grant Cardone. Nobody knew he was already a multi-millionaire while he was there. Got back into the hunting and killing, quote unquote, hunting and killing game of sales, and then came back and started his own thing in Kansas City. He now owns a coaching company as well as a construction company. Today we have Chaz Wolfe. Welcome on, man.
Dude, thanks for the electric introduction there. That's awesome, man.
It's funny, our first guest was like, man, I've never had an introduction like that.
Yeah.
And both times I'm just going off the rip with it. So.
Yeah, well, that's the best kind. But yeah, man, when you say underdog and you put some things together like that, you're like, yeah, I've been an underdog for a long time. I've never really said it like that, but I've been clapping for myself for a long time.
Okay, man.
You know?
That's awesome.
It's just the way we do it.
So I gave you a little intro.
Yeah.
But obviously the show is all about the underdogs, right? Overcoming the obstacles, clapping for yourself. Yeah. So where did it all start, man?
Dude, grew up single mom family. I know we've got a similar story in that way, but I learned early that like no one was coming to save me, you know? I watched my mom work 2 and 3 jobs most of her life, even still now. You know, her side job now is a little business that she started, walking dogs, and it actually brings her just incredible joy. So it's just super fun to watch her do that. But you know, like 16 plus hour days, 6-7 days a week, most of my childhood. And so I learned in that environment that like, not only is no one coming to save me, but if I wanted anything, it was going to require me to go get it. You know, and so. As like elementary as that sounds, I think there's a lot of people in that situation, as you can relate yourself, who just never do. They never do anything about it. They never take extreme ownership. You know, whatever it is that we did as underdogs, you know, I don't know, I can't remember the stat off the top of my head. I'm going to make it up, but you know, the listeners can look it up. But it's like 78% chance as a single, like as a son of a single mom. 78% chance that I've got to be incarcerated by the time I'm 18 in the state of Missouri. It's like way high.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard that stat.
That stat could be way off.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's even a stat around that is wild, you know? So it's things like that where I never allowed me not knowing my dad to be like the reason or the excuse. In fact, I had a lot of people, you know, hear the story. You know, I can remember being a young kid being like, well, what's, you know, as kids, you just shoot it straight, you know? And they're like, well, that's really sad. Or, you know, even as an adult later, you know, adults telling me, hearing the story of how I didn't grow up with a dad and, you know, mom that worked all the time, and it's just a really sad story. And my response to that was always like, I've never really taken it that way. I've always taken it as his loss, not mine. And I've just been busy making it happen. So yeah, that's the emis of kind of where it all started. It was in the DNA maybe, but I just knew early on that like it was either going to be nothing or whatever I wanted, and the only difference was me.
It's funny. When I was in school, I think this was like elementary school. So I had 2 moms, right? They were partners together, and I had one of the kids that asked in elementary school, because like you said, right, kids shoot it straight. They don't really know the difference, but he was like, what's it like having 2 moms?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. What's it like having a mom and a dad?
Right.
Because it was just normal for me at that point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, you know, it's interesting with that. So I'm curious. You mentioned, you know, the difference was going to be you either make it or you don't.
Yeah.
And kind of my why, right? Down at the plaza, my mom and I had gotten McDonald's, and we were driving through, and we're at the light with, you know, right on the corner of Winstead's and the big fountain down there. Yeah. And it's like February, it's the middle of winter, and there's a homeless guy out there. And so I'm like, Mom, I think we should give this guy some food. And she's like, no, don't worry about it. And I've had a disdain for authority ever since 4th grade when they told me to cut my rat tail off because it went below my collar in Catholic school. So I was like, nah, whatever, Mom. So I roll down the window and I give this homeless guy some food. And I was probably 10 or 11 at the time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 12.
Yeah.
And looking back, right? Unfortunately, we had to drive off, but he was crying when I gave him the food. He was like, "Thank you so much. You have no idea how helpful this is." And we drove off, and I asked my mom, I was like, "Are we ever going to be homeless?" Because again, you're a kid, right? You're going to shoot it straight, man. So, and she starts bawling, crying harder than the homeless guy. She's like, "That's never going to happen. Too many people care about us, and I work too hard, 3 jobs to make sure that all you guys are taken care of." And so I didn't realize how much of an impact it had on me until probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And my mission is to create financial liberation through services and education. And because looking back, I didn't realize it, but looking back, the only difference, in my opinion, between the homeless guy and my mom, or my mom and Oprah Winfrey, or you and someone who's thinking about a business, is the information and acting on that information.
Yeah.
It's not the connections, right? It's not born with a silver spoon in your mouth, because you see guys who have lost it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm curious if you had a defining moment where you knew for a fact that no matter what was going to happen, you were going to make it because you wanted to, and you were going to make it happen.
Yeah, I think subconsciously I have thought that since I was young, very similar to your upbringing, where it's just like what I saw was grit, never give up, never make excuses, and so I think that's just subconsciously been built into the DNA. The moment that I can think of where I came to consciousness of that, like, what if everything goes wrong moment, and then like me playing that out in my mind, was, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago, and way past achieving a bunch. And in fact, I can say that this is probably pretty normal. Like, once you've achieved what everyone else thinks is a lot, you start realizing that it's not that much, and that it can all be gone tomorrow. And then what? And so that was the conversation of, like, not that I was in fear per se of like losing it all, but it was like, well, what, like, what if this falls apart, and what if that falls apart, and shoot, what if all of it goes away? What would I do? Okay, well, like, tactically, I immediately think, okay, well, we'd sell the house, we'd move into one of our rental properties, I'd pay off whatever I needed to pay off, I'd get a sales job, like, tactically, But all of that actually in my mind goes, well, nothing really changes because I don't change in that scenario. I've developed a skill to communicate. I've developed a skill to tell a story and to market something. I've developed a skill to lead a prospect through the sales process. I've developed a skill to add value and to do what I say I was going to do. I've developed a skill to track and be appropriate steward with money. And so why, even if this does fall apart, why couldn't I just go do it again? And it was in that moment to where it's like, oh, actually, it's not that I don't care if it doesn't fall apart, but that doesn't even cross my mind anymore, because in that moment, if it were to ever fall apart, just like the stories we hear of the billionaires who lose it all and then get it back, because they didn't change, actually. In fact, in that moment, it forces you to go, okay, well, let me pull upon the things that got me to where I was. And so if anything, you grow through a situation like that. And so I think that the sooner that anybody, especially the underdog, but the underdog has nothing to lose from the beginning, right? I had nothing to lose. I'm 21 when I first made 6 figures. I'm 24 when I give up a 6-figure corporate job, no college education. I'm making more money than anybody in my family. I'm making more money than any of my friends. And I say, no, thank you. I'm going to go do my own thing. And, maybe we'll get to it, because I actually did end up meeting my dad. I thought someone else was my dad, and he wasn't my dad. And is this other guy who's a great guy, and I actually met him at 24.
That's a good cliffhanger. You'll have to watch the entire episode.
Yeah, I got to stay to the end on that one. But I remember being 24. 24, 25, leaving my corporate job to start my first business. And my dad at that time, who I had met, good guy, and he was like, are you sure you want to do this? And he's a business owner. He's an entrepreneur. but I just had nothing to lose. Who cares if I was making a couple $100,000 selling stuff?
Yeah.
I could go do that again. You know, same thing with Grant's office. You kind of let that be in the intro there. If we can go down that road if you want to, but you know, bro, the year before I was prospected to go to Grant's office, you know, recruited, outside of my businesses, in my sales career, I was on track to make $500,000. Outside of my 7 companies.
And where were you at the time?
I was here in Kansas City. Okay. At Angie.
Okay.
Home Advisor.
Yep.
Which you got contractors that listen to this. They start freaking out, going, "Oh, that's a scam." I say, "Well, actually, no. Your sales process is broken. Just give me a call. I'll help you fix it." But all that to say, like I was successful in multiple arenas, you know, and for me to hold on to that, even after you've had some success, and go, "Well, shoot, what if I do lose all this?" And you go back to the scenario of the underdog, which is like, "Well, I've got nothing to lose. Actually, if I do lose all of this, I just do it again." And I'm only 38. I got so much life to live. I'd have plenty of time to build this back up again. Sure, there'd be a little bit of a sticky season where we'd have to, you know, be tactical, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, but let's go. Kind of exciting. I don't want it to all go away, but
yeah,
you know,
confidence.
Yeah,
you got the.
And the underdog doesn't know that he has it, but he gets it because he doesn't have anything to worry about.
Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. You know.
So we kind of have 2 camps, right? We're early on in the podcast, but we kind of have 2 camps, right? We have some of the more advanced business owners who are tuning in, right? Because they see where people are at now and they want to get into the mind of what you're doing, model some of that success. But we also have the people who are looking to start, right? Who again have nothing to lose, right? They probably gravitate towards people like me and you. Same story for me, right? Didn't go to college. Well, technically I went to KU, but that was only on the weekends.
Yeah.
So went to college on the weekends to party, right? Got into, you know, same concept, 21 years old, making 6 figures, more than your friends, more than your family. But you said one thing, and I don't think, I'd love us to dive in deeper. You said if you had to do it all again, sell the house, move into the rental property, where would you start?
Yeah, where would I start?
Yeah.
Well, I've developed enough skills to not only where I can do any business, but I know that I can analyze and help others with business immediately. That might sound a little bit ironic that like if I'm going through bankruptcy or, you know, like something didn't work out, that I would then try to offer services to other people. Maybe I wouldn't, you know, be trying to coach people right away, you know, given the circumstances.
Well, you mentioned one thing.
What's that?
Sales.
Exactly. I would get in and I would add value to people's businesses in a way to where irrefutably I could charge whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And so, for example, like right now, inside of Gathering the Kings, we are about to launch 2 done-for-you offers. We've never had done-for-you. It's always been a mastermind community, you know, which leans more towards coaching, just peer-to-peer. We do events, we do online stuff, you know. We've even incorporated the family. You know, we've got marriage stuff. We've got, you know, we teach kids entrepreneurship. Like it's this really cool environment of growth, but not a done-for-you service where, you know, a lot of stuff that you do and other service providers, it's like, hey, you get out of the way, let me become part of your team, I'll do the thing, or my team will do part of the thing. Anyway, but one of these done-for-you offers that we're about to launch is building a marketing and sales machine. Because what I have learned is that marketing and sales, and then, you know, kind of operations and finance, we kind of put those 2 in buckets, is that there are entrepreneurs who are successful. They've got a 1 or 2 or 8 or $10 million business, and the sales and marketing machine is like not broken, but it's not defined. It doesn't really actually exist. They've kind of gotten lucky a little bit, you know? They just hit the market at the right time and they've got a really great thing and people just kind of flock to it, which is great, good for them. And then on the backside where they've maybe developed this, but then it's like, oh geez, there's no SOPs, there's no repeatable process. You know, we don't have any sort of KPIs and tracking of the money, like nothing, you know? It's just a mess. And so I know that even if all of it went away, that I could go into people's businesses and say, let me build this thing for you, or let me build this thing for you. And, not charge whatever you want, but I could charge enough to where we could get back on our feet instantly.
That's awesome, man. So if someone was starting out, right? Like for me, I think sales is great to get into, right? You don't have a lot of risk. Obviously doesn't require capital if you're going into a job and working for somebody else. And for me, sales is communication at the end of the day. So you're going to need sales in order to lead people. You're going to need sales in order to, even in the operations side of things, right? So I think that sales is honestly like the fundamental skill that if someone was looking to get started, sales would be the thing to learn.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm curious, how did you get into sales? Like, out of all the things that you could have done, right, you got into sales. How'd you get into that?
Yeah, I mean, so first off, just to back up your point, I think that sales as a skill is one of the most valued skills. I'm teaching my kids this, and we can get into that. My 9 and 11-year-old just bought their first business, and so I'm working through how do they master communication and sales and negotiation. In fact, later today, they have a vending machine business, and they have all of the locations are at the YMCA's around here in Kansas City. And my 9 and 11-year-old, have a meeting today, this afternoon, with the COO of YMCA. And
wow,
I may have been part of that little communication, but they were there. And in order to be able to understand their vending needs, and maybe there's an opportunity to expand and have some other types of products and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but to your point, sales is incredibly valuable, incredibly important. Noticed how my response back to you as far as what I would do, I would be selling something. With my experience in business, I wouldn't need to go sell for someone else, right? Because I already know that I could just sell my own thing. But to your point, I didn't know how to do that early on, right? So selling something for someone else is safe place. Like, they take all the risk, they take all the overhead, they take all the process and situation, just give me the thing that I go talk to people. Great. And if you're listening right now and you've not done that or not mastered that, it doesn't mean that you can't run a business successfully. It just means that there's going to be some bumpy road along the way of you, one, learning how to do it yourself to a degree to where you can now hire other people and have some sort of acumen around sales process and sales mindset and all of those things. And so how I got started, 16 years old, I'm a fryer cooker at Sonic. I hate my job. I remember
farthest thing from sales.
Dude, I remember making enough money to just get enough gas to just make it back to school and back to work. I was so pissed. My friends at that time in high school, so I'm 16 years old, I'm driving this beat up old Ford, and I had to actually borrow money from the bank. My grandma co-signed, like I had no money. And my friends, I wasn't even mad at my friends for having brand new cars, because they all had brand new everything. And I wasn't even mad about that. You know what I was mad about? I was mad about the full tank of gas. They never even had to think about it. They just got in and drove. And I had to calculate how many miles were left until I made it to Sonic to burn my fingers on the freaking fire, or the fryer, and to make it to school, and then hopefully enough time to get the paycheck again. So that little rigmarole sucked. And I'm like, I got to find a different job. And so at 16 years old, I apply for a Foot Locker in the mall. And that was the first time I was asked by a sales manager to sell me the pen. She handed me the pen and said, sell me the pen. And I'm sure I bombed it. I got the job, but I have no idea what I said. I'm sure it was terrible. I had no idea anything about that, why you would ask a 16-year-old. It was just kind of an interesting scenario. But that whole frame, dude, first off, I didn't know anything about sales, but I knew how to hustle. And I knew if I helped more people, it equaled more commission. And so I can remember even being one Thanksgiving, we're coming up on Thanksgiving here. Black Friday used to be a big thing back then. It's not as much now, but I mean, we would prep for weeks, And I remember on one Black Friday, there's 6 or 7 of us working there at this Foot Locker, and they're all the coworkers are congregated around the desk because there was nobody to help. I didn't say there was nobody in the store, because there was a ton of people in the store. I was helping all of them. And how that worked was They walked in, hey, how's it going? I'll be right with you in a second. Or hey, what brings you in? As I'm untying this guy's shoe, right? What brings you in? What are you looking for? Okay, great. Here you go. Here's your size 9. I'll be right back. What da 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 da. And then on my way to get him a new one and her that shoe, I'm asking this person over here if they can have help. And so I'm literally like, I remember coming out of the back like with a stack of shoes like this and like setting them down, helping this person, while all my coworkers are over here just watching.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with sales. That had everything to do with just hustle, grit, freaking outwork anybody. And I remember, even at 16, 17, 18, I'm running a Foot Locker before I was even legally able to, with keys and being at the top of the sales chart. And I had no idea what I was doing, really. I was just trying to help people. Fast forward to my actual first sales job, probably more technical sales job. I'm selling advertising, and I think that on the phone, I can just stand up, be authoritative through the phone and like beat them into buying, and that's just not the case. That's just not the case. Now, it worked a little bit, but it didn't work enough for me to be a top salesperson or even like not have the stress of not hitting the quota, Mm-hmm. And so it was right in that frame of, 19, 20, 21 years old where I'm like beating my head up against the wall in these sales jobs and me going, okay, I got to figure something else out. And I start watching YouTube videos and getting trainings, and I've come across a guy named Grant Cardone and plenty of others. Not that he's necessarily a good example of updated sales skills, but
the ideal sales process.
Yeah. But I started getting mindset. I started understanding that I could grow, I could be better. And eventually over the course of time, becoming a good salesperson, leading into a good sales leader, like you said, those two kind of go hand in hand a little bit, being able to learn how to communicate with a prospect, learning how to communicate and sell to your teammate of why they should, make 200 phone calls a day, and keeping them motivated and excited and engaged. Those aren't too far from each other, although they are two different skills. So me being able to do that successfully, even up, 21, 22, 23 years old, and then eventually leaving, the corporate thing for my own business.
That's awesome, man. To your point too, like when I started my business, the only sales experience that I had was people coming into the martial arts school that I taught at,
right,
who already wanted the product, who had already paid online to start the trial.
Yep.
And as long as we gave them a good experience, they were going to go and they were going to sign up for classes.
Yeah, we call it taking an order.
Yeah, order taker. I was an order taker, right? So, which is great if you have marketing, so good that it makes sales obsolete, but a lot of the time that's not the case. So when I went out and I started my marketing agency, I was like, all right, I'm the guy, I can market, and I started getting on the phone with these people.
Yeah.
And it was a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
And I was beating my head against the wall because, again, I'm like, I set the record. Oh, I got, 31 signups in 1 month for the martial arts school. This has never been done before. And I'm like looking back and I'm like,
yep. Yeah, that was me at Foot Locker.
It was the offer, stupid. You didn't have any sales skills. So I'm sitting in the Lifetime sauna on 135th and Metcalf. And I'm just, some other guy walks in there and I just strike up a conversation, right?
Yep.
So I'm like, hey man, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, I do sales at Home Advisor.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh, you do? How much you make? He's like, I did like 150 last year. Why? I was like, you did? I was like, how'd you do that, man? Right? And he starts telling me. He's like, well, I started out and I wasn't really good, but this guy Chaz.
Uh-huh.
This guy Chaz taught me how to sell.
Yeah.
And I went from, 60 grand a year to 150 grand a year selling.
Yeah.
I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I can put you in touch with Chaz if you want. And I was like, yeah, man, but I don't want to be sold.
Yeah.
Do you remember what his name was?
Yeah. Oh, it's either one of two guys, either Just In Case or
I don't even remember his name, man.
Well, the other guy I'm thinking of didn't make 150, so it must have been Just In Case. Was he blonde?
No, he's like light brown. Okay. But anyway, so he got us connected.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, and same thing. I'd watched the YouTube Grant Cardone videos. Right, I had tried the browbeating used car sales process of you need this.
Right.
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 And So I reached out to you after we got connected. I'm going to find the guy's name. It's going to bug me.
Yeah.
It's going to come to me at like the end of the episode too.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to you and I was like, hey, here's what's going on. I heard you took this guy from like 60 grand a year to
It's Dylan Swagger.
boom, Dylan Swagger. That's who it was.
That's right.
So
Yep.
Dylan introduced us.
Yes.
And I reached out to you.
Yes.
Or maybe you called me, I don't remember. But I'm sitting on the back of my buddy's porch who I was living with at the time, and we're just on the phone. And at the time, I didn't know what kind of sorcery magic you were using. But it was like the most seamless process of me coming to my own conclusion
Yes.
that I needed to work with you.
Yes.
And I was like, well, Jesus Christ, if you can do this, like, I need to learn how to do this. And so we started working together.
Yep.
And I think I was like, what, your second coaching client, maybe?
Yeah, maybe second or third.
Outside
something like
of,
that. Pretty
the
early.
corporate
Yeah.
team that you were managing.
Yeah.
So
It was early.
Um,
That would have been 2020?
yeah.
2019?
I think it was right before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, right before.
Yeah.
And so you helped me dial it in.
Yeah.
The 4 parts of the sales process.
That's right.
And dude, crushed it ever since.
Yeah.
And it was like, not that it was easy, but
No.
in the beginning you're gonna suck, like Garrett White says.
Yeah.
Right? But eventually you're gonna do so much that you'll start to suck less.
That's right.
But the nice thing is that because I worked with you, I was able to have a shortcut.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, hey, you can walk these 1,000 miles by yourself, or you can just get in the car
Yep.
and drive the car. And Chaz was in, the passenger seat telling me where to go the whole
That's
time.
right. Yep.
And so it was just so much easier once I had that sales process in place. So testament to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Right? And I think that's kind of a perfect segue in terms of what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Right? So you got into coaching and now you're doing Gathering the Kings.
Yeah.
Which, if I had to guess, there's probably a lot of underdogs
Oh, yeah.
in there as well. So bring us up to speed, man. How'd you get into the coaching and what are you doing now?
Yeah, and so, like you said, started out with sales. I just know sales like the back of my hand. It's a passion, but it's not. I didn't want to become the next Grant Cardone. I don't want to be known for that necessarily. And so, I was working with guys like you, entrepreneurs, working with individual sales reps. The more business owners I started to work with, I started to recognize that they didn't just need help with sales. They needed help with this or operations or mindset and I'm like, oh man, these are all things that maybe I'm not necessarily like a 10 out of 10, but I've got some experience here. And so I started having these conversations and people are like, wow, thanks for, that thing that you gave me last week, it freaking worked. I'm like, cool, My wife, it's funny because, for years now, she's just heard me just blah, 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 blah on Zoom all day long with clients.
Yeah.
And I'll come out of the room and she'll go, I heard you say something about blah, blah, blah situation. And then instantly you had the answer. How did you know that? And I was like, oh, well, there was a time once in this business, I had this experience and da. And she was like, whatever. It's just golden BS. It just flows out of you. And I'm like, well, I'll concede to the idea that maybe it's golden BS to you, but it worked. So I had to pull it from somewhere. I didn't pull it from my behind, that's for sure. I just have a brain that works in systematics and understanding correlation. I patternized things. And so this situation sounds like a lot like this situation, even though from the naked eye, these are two totally different businesses, totally two different scenarios, but here's the pattern. Here's underneath what happened. And just like you, once you understood why, once you understood the mindset of pre-framing and then how to lower sales resistance through the sales process, it really had nothing to do with you at all. It had everything to do with how you set up them so they can come to their own conclusion, like you mentioned. And so when we understand those things, we can win in any area, all areas, including my marriage, including my kids, including my, fill in the blank, my health, my faith. And so that's what we do now. With Gathering the Kings, it's a community of entrepreneurs, many of which, like you said, are successful guys that come from an underdog state. 85% of wealth is first generation anyway. Mm-hmm. So most likely the scenario of the people watching your show is because at some point, even though they might be worth $100 million, they were an underdog at one point. it's just so rare that a second and for sure rare that a third generation is moving with wealth. It's all first generation. And so that's exciting to gather those types of people together. And one of our phrases is sit with kings. The conversation is different. And we've had people join our group that come to an event or come to one of our round tables, and I've been a part of a lot of groups. I don't have a whole lot of expectation, and then they come in and it's just different. And then the feedback that I get is, dude, I don't know where you found these people, but these are some of the best conversations that I've had ever, not just recently, ever. Like the most down to earth, the most straightforward. That dude over there has a business 3 times my size, but like is struggling with XYZ, had no problems telling me what he was struggling with. And then, oh, by the way, he gave me like 3 things that I can go implement tomorrow. And so there's a generosity, but this is grateful but not done spirit. I created this phrase probably 4 or 5 years ago, this grateful but not done. And that is not every entrepreneur. Grateful but not done is I can recognize where I am here in this moment. I can be present. I can be grateful. I can look back and be like, dang, that's where we came from, man. And be humble. Of like, that definitely, I didn't do it all by myself, definitely had some help, but like, feeling pretty good about this. This is good. But let's not sit there for too long, because that's where we're headed, right? The top of the mountain's that way. Whatever the top of the mountain is, for each individual. And so when you get a room of people, a table of people like that together, I mean, we've got folks in our community that have had 9-figure businesses, all the way to the guy that's, trying to hit his first $1 million. And the collective tissue is we want to grow and we want to be helpful to each other. Now, granted, we got to separate some of that up a little bit just because of, the conversation at certain levels is different, What has made us unique, because as I started to put people together in this way, this grateful but not done, this kind of humble but growth-minded spirit, this winning in all areas, I kind of mentioned it. I don't want to just have a great business, but I want to have a great marriage, and I want to be a great dad, and I want to have the best health, and I want to be optimized, and I want my faith to be strong, and like I want holistic, success. And as we kind of pressed more into that, what stuck out the most, at least that was the common thread between all of our members, was that this individual was legacy minded or family driven. And so the last 3 years, we've pressed hard, especially in our marketing, around this winning in family and business. And so 3 years ago now, we launched what we call our family mastermind. This is a vacation that we do in the summers. That's for the entrepreneur, the spouse, the kids. We bring in speakers for the adults around parenting and marriage, and we'll have a family legacy planner at this next one. And we do workshops for the kids, teaching them how to make money as a kid, launch their first business, how to market, all these incredible things that man, if I just had my hands on something like that when I was 12, I mean, man, what an incredible gift that would have been. And so if we can do that for these entrepreneurs and for their kids, I had one of our members just a couple of weeks ago. I take that back, it was a couple months ago. He was like, he's probably got a $10 or $11 million business, just crushing it. He goes, hey man, I just wanted to thank you for the things that you do for my kids, because even though I'm successful, I don't even know if I could tell another adult how I did it, let alone my children. To be able to communicate the message of success principles, how to think, how to create, how to own, just him. He was just like, dude, this is just incredible. Thank you. But that gap there of successful entrepreneur, I kind of don't even know what I did to be successful, which is most.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a mixture of luck, a mixture of other people helping me. I was in the right place at the right time. Yeah, I worked hard, but I don't know if I could have retraced the map of how I got here. It happens a lot.
Right.
And then so for that person to be able to not be able to communicate to their kids is pretty regular, So then what do we have? They have this huge gap, this huge chasm between the kids going, yeah, dad, he's got a business. I don't really know what he does. And it becomes more of a mistress. We just put her over here. We don't talk about her. It's kind of what Dad does over here in the secret, which is not at all what I want to do, and definitely not the people that are in our group.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, there's this spirit of growth, and we want to grow in the business. We want to grow in the other areas, but that family component has really like risen to the top of going, man, if I can get family-driven entrepreneurs together at the same table, magic happens.
Yeah. Man, it reminds me of the story of the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for anyone listening who doesn't know the story of the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers, they were two of the wealthiest men during the industrial age. Vanderbilt actually at one point was richer than Rockefeller.
Yep.
And what ended up happening is the Vanderbilts lost all of their money within like 3 generations.
Yeah.
And I think the last one was Anderson Cooper.
Yep.
Wasn't he? He's a Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah.
And he had no connections, had to claw his way into the media network.
Yep.
And on the flip side, the Rockefellers, their family's richer than they've ever been.
Yeah.
And the difference, kind of how we started this whole podcast, was the information, the strategies, the values passed on to the next generation to keep that within the family.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And on our flight back, we actually just went out to California, me and my videographer, to record a case study with a big client of mine.
That's cool.
And on the flight back, I was sitting next to this 86-year-old. And I just struck up a conversation with him. You know, my mom came back. I flew her out for the vacation. We went down to San Diego afterwards. And she came back. She was like, I don't think we're gonna make our flight. So I nudged the guy next to me, and I'm like, ain't this gonna be a ride?
Yeah.
So we just get to talking, and he is talking about all the stuff going on in America and how the government shut down, and then he all ties it back to, he's like, I've lived my life. Everything I do now is for my legacy.
Yeah.
It's for the next generation.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's all about what Gathering the Kings has become.
Yeah.
Maybe not how it started.
Right.
But now it's much more, you've built this thing, or you're building this thing.
Yeah.
But even more so, how do we build it so that it can be sustained for future generations? So you don't end up like the Vanderbilts.
Yeah. And I love the fact that the 86-year-old had the recognition that, like, from now on, it's legacy. But I don't want that recognition at 86. I want that recognition at 36. Because that's 50 years of action that could have gone toward his legacy. Now, I don't want to put him down at all. Thank goodness that he's thinking that way now. But my call to family-driven entrepreneurs is simple, is that it doesn't have to be like that. Or worse, the people that are just like, figure it out. I had to figure it out. Yeah. Y'all can figure it out. I'm here for me and mine. And you know what? Bless them. It's just not the way that I think. It's not the way that I'm designed. And there are other people like me who go, you know what? I'm willing to fall on the sword as the first generation. Look, I've made a lot of money already in my short life. But, and there's some nice things that we've enjoyed. But generally speaking, the way that I think about a dollar is, if I put this dollar here into something that goes away versus over here into an asset that can be worth $100 by the time my grandkids get it, that means every $10,000 purchase, every $100,000 purchase is worth millions to my grandkids and my great-grandkids. Now, it doesn't mean that every single dollar I'm just like, okay, I'll suffer. But generally speaking, there's a filter here that I'm thinking for the legacy. That doesn't mean that I'm just trying to pass on money, though. So now we're getting into what is actual legacy. Because
how did the Rockefellers keep theirs in the family?
To your point, the Vanderbilts just passed on money. You can't do that. Because we know there's over a 90% chance by the third generation it will be gone. And so there has to be additional things that get passed on. That's why I say I'm teaching my kids how to think, create, and own. And there's going to be a gob of money, sure. But if it doesn't grow, if they don't understand that their assignment is to take what's here and to expand it, it doesn't mean that they have to be in the same exact business or take over Gathering the Kings. That's not it at all. But I haven't done my job properly, in my opinion, if they don't understand that this is a family office and that it's got to expand. Otherwise, we weren't good stewards. And so if that looks like, my second born who's only 9 and she's a lot more creative or flexible rather than my firstborn who's like, regimented, she's going to
Type A.
They're going to have 2 different businesses, or maybe they'll work together in a business. I have no clue, right? But they need to have the skills that are necessary to not just when I'm gone, do something with it. It's my opinion that we're going to do things together like we are already, right? They have borrowed $50,000 from me at 9 and 11 to buy an 8-location vending machine business. And each Friday morning, we're going tomorrow morning to fill up 2 or 3 of these machines. Like the worst ROI on my time all week long. Okay? I'm not technically making money sitting here talking to you, but something is going to come out of this. One client that comes out of this pays me way more than the $50 that the vending machines make each day But that's not the point of what I'm doing. Right? I'm getting into the machine with them so that we can do it together for a period of time. And I want them to own, right? I want to pass on the legacy now. I want them to take responsibility. In fact, this agreement is a different lady. I had another lady from the YMCA call, a different location. She didn't know that I was already in contact with the big dog, but she calls and she didn't realize that we had taken over, and she was upset about the previous owner and some service and not showing up or something. She was upset. And I'm like, so she's like, I need to know how you're connected. Who are you and what's your, how are you connected to this? I'm like, well, first off, here's what happened. 2 weeks ago, my daughters purchased that machine along with all the rest of them at the YMCA's, and so you have my number now because I gave it to the staff when we were there. If there's any issues, you can give me a call. So that's why you have my number. But not to get it twisted, like I'm not the owner. And she was like, well, how old are your daughters? And I was like, 9 and 11. And she was like, okay, well, I'm going to put you in touch with so-and-so. There needs to be a contract in place. Okay, fine. No big deal. She's like, and I'm going to have them deal with you so that we can do this as adults or whatever she said, some smirky comment. I go, it's no problem. I'm happy to be there. But just so that you are aware and you can pass on to whoever it is that my daughters will be there and they'll be signing the contract because they're the owners of the machines. Just super calm and no big deal. And do they need me? Yeah. But what can I do in these moments now to where by the time they're 18, bro, come on. They'll be making $1 million decisions, not running $1 million business. They'll be making multi-million-dollar decisions before people have even grasped the hold of how to do the sales process. Most people don't even start their business until they're 40, which is fine. Good for them. But if I can fast forward things, think about where my grandkids are going to be. I'm raising my grandkids' parents right now.
I've never thought about it that way.
Right? All that should do for you, for the listener, is it should make me think and be really intentional about my actions. You mentioned at the beginning, you said, look, it's about information and action. Most people are excited. They're getting information. I listened to a podcast today. There's a dime a dozen. And there's a dime a dozen of people who said they did something today and listened to a podcast. Mm-hmm. Hardly anybody does anything with it. In fact, I was just at an event. I was a keynote. This would have been like 3 or 4 weeks ago at an event. There was like 100 plumbers. And I was like, look, guys, there's 100 of you here. The stats are this, no joke. There's 2 of you that are going to take the information from this weekend and do something with it. And they were all like, what? We're all excited. We're all, we got notes. I go, nah, you guys are all a bunch of talkers. There's 2 of you, though, somewhere in here that'll do something with it. I want to work with those people, Because everybody else is just talking. Everybody else is just getting the first part, which is the information. Watching the YouTube videos, getting motivated by Grant Cardone. Sure, all that's good. I did that. But then what happens after that is the most important, which is kind of tie this all together with my family. It's like, if I can teach my children, cool. But then for them to do, And if I can fast forward that to where I can put them in situations where they have to think, or maybe it's a little hard. My firstborn, she's 11 years old. She's about to be 12. She's crushed by having $50,000 worth of debt. She's like, oh my gosh, Dad, this is wild. And it's like, no big deal.
Yeah.
But it's a big deal to her. And I'm not going to let that, I'm not going to just take the weight of that. I want her to hold that weight. Because later when it's millions and tens of millions or hundreds of millions, I don't know what they're going to accomplish.
Yeah.
They'll be ready for it. You know what I mean?
100%. You know, it's interesting. Some of the parents that I talk to, everybody says they don't want their kids to go through what they had to go through. And I always jokingly say, I'm like, I'm going to bully my daughter.
Yeah.
Jokingly. Some people have taken it out of context.
Sure.
Don't be an astrotoll.
Yeah.
But some people have taken it out of context. And, you know, just looking, because I saw this when I was teaching martial arts, right? I taught martial arts from the time I was basically 14 to 21. And there were some kids who would come in and their mommy would tie their belt for them and, you know, iron their gi. There was one kid for his black belt test. His mom packed his gear bag.
Yeah.
For his black belt test, right?
Yep.
And
this is supposed to be a level of professional.
yeah,
You know, even at a
exactly.
young age.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. It's like, I don't want them to go through what I had to go through. So some of them will spoon feed to them, like the Vanderbilts, right? They give them all this money, no values, no information on how to steward the money, like you mentioned. And the second one is, I'm going to teach you the lessons that I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put you in positions that are going to make you grow. I'm not going to hand everything to you.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make sure that you didn't have to learn it the hard way that I did.
Yeah.
Same reason why I hired you when I first started out.
Exactly.
I didn't want to have to learn it the hard way. I wanted the shortcut to the information. And the best way I've personally found to do that is to get around the people who already have what you want. And to your point, I want something that's holistic.
Yeah.
I don't want a great business, but my relationship with my daughter is atrocious.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So yeah, at the end of the day, right, the parents, and I want to be like this parent. I want to be the parent who isn't going to make it easy for my kid.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make it easier than what I had to go through.
Yeah, there's this is a conversation that I have regularly, but you know, we want our kids to not have to experience the hardships that we did. Again, going back to 85% first generation wealth, we most likely clawed and fought and, you know, did everything our own, right? And so we don't want our kids to have to do that, but then we don't want them to be entitled. And so it's like, okay, well, how can they not go through what I did, but then understand the value of what they're being given? And so I have to recreate circumstance. Okay, my kids, similar to you, their life automatically is different because they have me. I didn't have a dad. You didn't have a dad. So what does that mean? Well, their life is, I can't like, let me go away for 15 years. Like, I can't recreate that circumstance. But what I can do is I can fabricate situations and I can put them through things that get them, again, to think, create, and own. And some of that requires hardship, challenging moments. But I think that void of that is what you get, you know, the entitlement piece or the silver spoon. If I'm only trying to go, you know what, that was really hard for me, I don't want them to have to experience that. Stats show us that you're actually setting your kid up way worse, way worse. Their ability to live in the real world is none, zero. And they don't have a real picture of what the real world looks like, actually. So when they go get their first job at 25 years old, it's just, it's going to be a rude awakening.
Dude, I have, not to interrupt you, sorry, but my brother's 27, right? And never been out of the house. Moved out of the house, I should say. My mom wants to prepare him for, Mom, if you're watching this, sorry, but wants to prepare him for the real world. So we get home last night from San Diego, and it's trash night, and only the recycling's out.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh my God, I cannot believe that he did not put the trash out. And I just ask her, I go, are you going to put the trash out?
Uh-huh.
She goes, yeah, because I know he's not going to do it. Anyway, back to your point,
Yep.
right? It's like,
Yep.
at some point, you know, do you want them to have all the skills entering into the world? The reason I say I'm going to bully my daughter, right, is because, I mean, if she's used to sticking up to herself,
Yeah.
and bully might mean like, I beat her in a race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not actually like,
Yeah.
you're a horrible child. I'm not talking about that. But like, when she actually encounters hard spots in life, she's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is a cakewalk.
Yeah.
You know?
My 3-year-old just yesterday, it's gotten chilly over the last couple of days. Julie's in the process of, like cleaning out the coat closet and, kind of getting ready for the winter and stuff. And my 3-year-old.
I know, I feel like we skipped right over fall and went into winter.
I know, dude. It was kind of nice there for a minute. I like fall, but anyway. So my 3-year-old Romy Jo, she pulls out a little mitten, for the winter, and she's got it on and she's playing with it, and she took it off, and she tries to put it back on, and she put it on the other hand, and she's like, but now the logo's on the wrong side. I go, well, you got to put it on the other hand, so the logo on the side. Got it. So she's like struggling to get it on. Dad, I can't. And my response to her is, you can, you just haven't been able to do it yet. So let's try again. Where most what most parents do, just reach down and put the mitt on. Just reach down and put the mitt on, right? I got down on her level, but didn't touch anything. Why don't you try again? And she, like not even 2 seconds, like, no, look here, and they just kind of have this natural, help me, right? No, look, I can't, Dad. I'm like, you can. Here's what you need to do, though. You're pulling right here, and after you first get it on, then you need to turn over and pull it here. You try. You do it. No. You can do it. This must have been like 3 minutes with this mitt. But what I'm training her at 3 years old, which I have been the entire part of her life, and all my other kids in the same way, is I'm training her subconscious to understand, one, I can. Maybe I just haven't figured out the way how to do it yet. But two, it's okay to press in a little bit. It's okay to have some persistence. Because when my mind tells me that I want to give up, usually that's not the end, right? We know that from Marine statistics, right? That old 40% statistic. And so how can I train even my child? Well, first off, it's going to take me more time, more effort, and often more money. I just took my 9-year-old daughter to Mexico for 3 days last week. I didn't need her to go with me. I went there to scout out some resorts for some of our upcoming family mastermind events. But I'm like, if she could totally come. I've taken my other 2 on some trips this year. Perfect, she can come. And so she got to test out some slides and all kinds of fun stuff, but she got to see me negotiate. We got to spend some time together. We talked, kid level stuff as well as, what might be considered adult level stuff. And it cost me more time, more effort, and for sure more money to bring her with me. In fact, I think the Mexican government thought I was trying to traffic her or something on the way in, because it was just me and her. And they were like, how long are you going to be here? They were questioning her. I was like, oh my gosh.
Someone saw that in the bathroom of the plane. Yeah. Like, if you think someone is.
Yeah. I was like, I get it. This doesn't look great. But she was able to answer the questions. We were good, But I'm like, I should probably think about that in the future. But it's like, it cost me more time, money, effort. I could have gone there and not have to spend that time, and it would have been easier for sure, and definitely cheaper. But what am I actually trying to accomplish? As a family-driven, legacy-driven, forward-thinking individual where I'm not just trying to build a business just for me, that's where we get in. We start a business to make money. We say that we're doing it for our family. I did this for years. I'm over here. I know I won't be home tonight, but I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for our future. But then if they never see me, am I actually really doing it for them? So we teach business owners how to build a business that doesn't, enslave them, yet where they can still make future decisions, future family, legacy-driven decisions. I still want to be able to take the time and the money and the effort to invest in my family, like I just described with my daughter, where my business isn't dictating the time. And a lot of business owners think they have to be obsessed with their business in order to be successful. Yeah, you do. That's how we're designed. We're kind of crazy. Good. But like that doesn't shut off when you go home. To be obsessed with my marriage, to be obsessed with my health, to be obsessed with being a good dad, like whatever the other elements are of life that you think are holistic, great. You got to be obsessed with those too. It's not lowering this obsession. It's keeping this high and then raising this one and this one and this one. And it all goes back to the word intentionality. Right? In order to be able to actually do these things, to build the legacy that we talk about that's cliche, what does it look like on the day-to-day? Well, it looks like the 3 minutes I spent with my daughter about the stupid mitt. It's intentionality of going, no, this is an actual moment where I can transfer. I can transfer think. I can transfer mindset. I can transfer family culture. But if we miss those moments, then they'll eventually become old enough to do their own thing, and then we wonder why they don't want to be a business owner. They don't want to have anything to do with our business. They all the way down the list.
Man, you're teaching your grandchildren's parents.
Yeah, man. That perspective is
so
deep, isn't it?
Powerful. Oh my gosh. Have you read Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell?
I haven't. It's the catch-all. I know the book, but I actually haven't read it.
So there's a concept in there, and I don't know if you follow him or not.
Yeah. I enjoy him. Yeah.
He's probably talked about it on his content, but he talks about how when people bring you their problems, right? They bring you their monkeys. He calls it, and I think Ken Blanchard with 1 Minute Manager. If you're familiar with any of his stuff, I think he has a similar concept. But he talks about how they're going to bring you their monkeys, and your job is not to take care of the monkey, but it is to give it back to them and make sure they have the resources in place. I'm paraphrasing. But, the resources in place so that they can deal with their monkey, right? And so for me, similar scenario. If Nixon, my daughter, comes to me with a problem, my first question is, well, what can we do about it? Because I want to get her trained to, instead of focus on the problem, focus on the solution. What can we do?
And her to be able to come up with it.
Yes. Exactly. And it may not work the first time, right? Tony Robbins always says, hey, get your goal, figure out how you're going to get there, okay? Make a plan, take action, but then importantly, iterate on that action. If you're starting to veer off a little bit, there's no reason why you can't just correct course. So teaching her that persistence, well, first teaching her to focus on the solution. And then to make a game plan. Take action on the game plan. And then iterate on what's not working. Like you said, just imagine what there'll be like in 10 years, 20 years, or when our grandkids are here. Oh man, that's so powerful.
Dude, I'll even take that to another level around where they've had success. And instead of saying, I'm so proud of you, I'll ask them, are you proud of you? Are you proud of yourself? Are you proud of what you've done? Void of what I feel. What do you think about this? And they're like, yeah. Why? Because I worked hard or whatever. And then I'll fill the gap with, me too. Or I'm proud of you, or I love you, or all the things that we wanted our parents to say that they never did.
Have you read Mindset by Carol S. Dweck?
No.
You haven't read that one?
No.
I got to send you these books, man.
Yeah.
So she talks about the difference between kids who have confidence when they're older and resiliency and the kids who don't. And they found there was this huge gap in how people got praised for their actions. You probably know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, this is good. This is good.
So they did these studies, and let's just say that we have two people who, my daughter's in martial arts. So we'll just use this as an example, right? And Jordan, my videographer, is thinking about getting his daughters in martial arts. So let's say we got two kids, okay? And in our martial arts school that we go to, they get tape on their belt, right? Each one signifies a different word that they're working on, and they cycle through 8 words. So you have things like focus, discipline, fitness, right? And let's say that we got two kids, and one of them gets praised for getting the stripe at the end of class. And the other one gets praised on the work or the process required in order to get the stripe.
That's right.
Well, what Carol S. Dweck found with her study is that the kid who got praised on the result, the outcome, when they started to not hit that, if, a trial or tribulation came across and they didn't hit that, they felt like personally, right, that it was a problem with them. And their confidence went through the floor. And they didn't want to try the next time because they were scared of that failure.
Right.
But on the other side, the person who was praised on the process or the work or, hey, great focus out there, or if you want to phrase it like what you do, hey, what are you proud of, right? What did you do well? Well, when they focus on the process, regardless of whether or not they get the outcome, they're much more likely to be resilient, to be confident, to see things through, because they're not so focused on whether or not they achieve the outcome. But in my mind, right, they're more focused on becoming the person who can achieve that outcome. So it just goes back to external motivation versus the internal motivation.
Yeah, self-efficacy, right? If I can get them to understand that they've got everything that they need here. Now, granted, as children, they need external pieces from us to be able to take care of them, lead them, guide them, whatever. But the sooner that they can understand that they've got everything, even at 9 and 11, then it's not that they don't need me, but I can actually now begin a different role with them. I don't have to be the one feeding them. Like, imagine spoon feeding, literally your 11-year-old. Like, I remember feeding the baby. It's like, it's so much work. And I can't do other things for them. And so literally I'm robbing them of the other roles that I'm supposed to be for them if I stay in this role too long. And so I want them to become, self-reliant as soon as possible. Not because they don't need God and they don't need me, and no. But they have to have a level of sufficiency and confidence that, what if something goes wrong? We'll bring this back to the very beginning. What if something goes wrong? All that was my self-efficacy, going, well, I've developed some skills, and it would be all right. I'll just start over. To have that level of focus or clarity or confidence in that moment, when something actually does go wrong, is the only thing that's going to separate me from the other quitters or the other failures out there, is that I'll just start again. And I want my kids obviously to be able to have that as well. So yeah, this is all good conversation, man. Kids are a big deal. Legacy is a big deal.
Powerful, man.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody's listening right now, whether they're an underdog just starting out, or they've grown a 7, 8, 9-figure business, and maybe they want to look into connecting with you more. Where can they find you?
Yeah, gatheringthekings.com is our website. Of course, you can find me, Chaz Wolfe, on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on both of those. I'm on the other platforms as well, but those two, you'll actually talk to me.
Well, the King of Kings, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks, man.
Greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Hope you enjoyed the episode with Chaz. Thanks again for tuning in and checking out the Underdog Chronicles. Make sure to subscribe so you know when we drop the next episode. And we'll see you on the next one.